Connecting. Okay. So we're joined here today by Blinky. Isn't that awesome? We love Blinky. Say hi, Blinky. Does Blinky say hi?
When she wants to, but right now she's saying snuggle, snuggle. She wants to be snuggled. But I think it's that she wants to meet you. She prefers men over women, but she's
Really?
stuck with, yeah.
Are there pets on Star Trek?
There are a good number, and actually, as we're going to talk about Picard today, it's interesting that I can't recall a pet on the original series. You may remember if there was one, but the original series, I feel like the ship itself is less familial. It's more of an exploratory warship, and not that it's, but it's more about that. Whereas Next Generation, you start to have families. So the first pet I'm aware of is Spot, which is Data's cat. Right.
Yes, of course.
Sort of to help Data understand compassion. However, one episode where Data recites poetry, he recites an ode to Spot, where he actually says that Spot is not sentient. And I think it's pretty common belief that cats are sentient. Parrots are definitely sentient. More sentient than a lot of people I know. Yes. But so Spot is then memorialized with the doctor who is the offspring of Dr. Sun in Picard, with Spot 2 or 3 or whatever this cat is. But there's a red cat that they named Spot in Picard. I don't know if you recall.
Oh, yes, of course, yes.
Yeah.
So I love Picard. I mean,
you did?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. So thank you for pushing it. It was 100%. It also even timed out nicely. I didn't have to pay for CBS All Access because they made it free, so that was nice. And I'm a cheapskate. Although, if they come out with a season 2, I'm gonna have to pay for it because I'm not gonna want to miss that.
So I did not. I have access to it, and I saw it a little bit before then. I couldn't wait to see it. I was excited for it, and I loved the nostalgia of it, and a lot of aspects of it I absolutely adored. But I understand fans not liking it. I understand that feeling of lack that's in it that isn't in any other Star Trek series, with the exception of Deep Space Nine. That's set in such a way that there are characters that are outside of the Federation. I also really, really didn't like the ending. How did you feel about the ending? The
ending of Picard?
Yes.
I had the same problem with that I had with the problem in Star Trek. I guess it was Star Trek Into Darkness, where they cured death. You can't cure death.
You can't. So, okay.
Like, he's dead, but then he's not dead. I guess he's okay. I mean, I don't know. That's weird.
Right. So Star Trek, I think, does address death in multiple series and multiple ways. And this isn't the first time that death was cured or addressed directly. But they keep him alive through making him a synth, which is now he's not Picard at all.
Right.
They also create a situation where Data wants to die, which I can't understand.
I didn't get that either.
And they portray Picard as full-on atheist, which prior to then, he's always been agnostic. And
that's interesting. Well, okay, so let's talk about that, though. So what's the difference?
That's really important to me as somebody who's agnostic and really idolizes the way that Picard is written. To then make him atheist makes me uncomfortable, and it makes me sad.
What's the difference? Let's talk about that.
Agnostic is open to what is and admitting to that you don't know what is. Atheist is saying we are all we can see, and that's all we are, and there is not more to us or more to the universe, which doesn't even make sense from a Star Trek perspective, in my opinion, because the second you accept physics of any kind, you've accepted that the universe is more than we can see.
That's a good point.
I mean, I can't see. I know I'm not solid because I study science. that I appear solid because my senses make sense out of things to make me believe that I'm solid.
What do you mean you're not solid?
Solid, right? You know, neutrons and protons and electrons buzz around each other. Neutrons stay stable and everything's buzzing around, and in between those particles are empty space. And I'm made up of atoms, so I'm more empty space than I am anything else. As are you, as is this phone, as is Blinky.
Well, not Blinky. Blinky is completely solid. We know that.
You're completely solid.
Blinky is special. Blinky is, of course, very special.
She's still here.
No, I can, but I can see that. I mean, I can see where that would be troubling. You know, when did they say, what did they say that made him full on atheist? Did he actually explicitly say something?
He said that when he died, what he was blew away and was gone. And then there was a longing for that.
Okay.
I don't, you know, maybe it's the time we're living in with the coronavirus ever present. Maybe it's because I had more than one death in my family fairly recently. But I think a lot about these things, and I gain comfort in thinking that there's something else, and thinking that my family members are in some sense still something. And this is just an off thing. I happened to read this book, Conversations with Roddenberry, one of the coolest books I've ever read in my life. A female minister interviewed him when he was on his deathbed. And Gene Roddenberry was pretty atheist.
What was the name of the book again?
I think it was Conversations with Roddenberry. I read it a long time ago.
I want that.
It was amazing. But even though Gene Roddenberry was pretty much atheist, Picard wasn't. He was not written that way. And I can remember very specifically an episode with the Traveler in it. Do you remember the Traveler?
No.
So he's a big blue man with a big forehead, and he's kind of this metaphysical being that lives off of people's beliefs. And in the episode, that is what brings about the Maquis. So the first episode where the Cardassians are kind of taking over a planet, and that first episode is the Traveler's present, and there's this theory, and people find Wesley annoying, but Wesley is found to be smarter in some ways than the typical human, so he ends up going and being with the Traveler. But at one point, the Traveler explains to Picard that if everybody believes something as a group, it will come to be. And Picard turns around and says, I understand that, and I get that. I don't, maybe not in those words, someone may be listening and correct me, but Picard's reasoning and Picard's way of looking at things, he doesn't turn around and say, that's nonsense, as somebody who is atheist would probably not think that our thoughts could become a thing. That's very metaphysical, which doesn't really go with atheism.
So it's a weird turn for the character, for him to suddenly, you know, not to betray his previous, you know, his previous style.
It's funny because the series made a lot of fans uncomfortable in different ways. Nothing else made me uncomfortable. That made me uncomfortable.
So the things that made the fans uncomfortable were Starfleet not being fully benevolent. Starfleet could be evil.
Yeah.
You also have an evil half Vulcan, half Romulan, which was a weird thing. I didn't know that was a thing. For, you know, I can see the Romulans. All the stuff with the Romulans I thought was fascinating, and it makes me want to go back and look at, you know, sort of other Romulan episodes and see how much of that was created for Picard and how much of that they had already sort of set in stone. Because the whole thing about how Romulans don't even have AI, like that's how much they distrust. Like that was all new, right?
I don't want to say I don't remember anything like that. They had cloaking technology, whereas the Federation doesn't have cloaking technology. Right. And
it sounded a little.
Back with the Romulans is their their ships are birds of prey, just like whatchamacallits, their name.
No, Klingons.
Klingons, yeah, my brain after being
Oh no, please. If we can't remember Klingons, we know we've been inside for too long.
Like forehead people. I'm wearing, by the way, I'm wearing my Starfleet Academy shirt.
That's a good choice. That's an excellent choice. I like it. I actually bought a Spock wig, but I can't figure out how to put it on. It's very complicated.
I'm sure.
I was like, I took it out and it was like, it's like there's a, like a black rabbit on top of my head. It just doesn't really work right. There's a really high level of talent on that show. You had Kurtzman, you had Michael Chabon, Vivica Goldsman. I mean, there's just the talent level is off the charts.
Yeah.
Like these are all. I mean, I think Chabon is a Pulitzer Prize winner. I mean, there's some serious talent on this show. So I guess it wasn't a huge surprise. Jerry
Ryan's performance as 7 of 9 in that was spectacular.
Good. Spectacular. So good. She kicks so much ass.
I know.
She just nails. She's just like pachoo, 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 pachoo. Oh my God, so good.
So this is an interesting thing, and I actually had my mind changed on it. I was a little bit irritated that they made the character gay at the end. My reasons being is she's definitely somebody who appeals to women because she's always been very, very strong. But I know that George Takei was angry when they made Sulu gay in retrospect, because just because George Takei is gay doesn't mean Sulu is gay. So just because women happen to like 7 of 9 doesn't mean that 7 of 9 is gay, and she wasn't in Voyager. But having thought about it in more detail, I realized that anything that she was in Voyager isn't necessarily who she was, since she had just been disconnected from the Borg.
Right.
So I think in retrospect, I thought there was room for that, and it didn't necessarily bother me, but I didn't really feel. It's very un-Star Trek to couple everybody up at the end.
Yeah, that was a little weird. That was unusual. And the other thing that I found really weird is that I found Agnes's character to be a little all over the place.
I disliked her actively through the entire thing.
Okay.
The entire thing. And what? So she murdered somebody and no one cares now?
Right. All of a sudden, she murdered this guy in cold blood. This wasn't a case where she was protecting her own life. She wasn't doing, 7 of 9 kills people, but it's in the process of a fight. I mean, there's a reason for it.
When he's in a bed, he's very, very sick and weak.
Yeah, no. She basically put a pillow over his head, and it was just crazy. And the idea that nobody's going to care about that, they sort of go from caring to not caring to that was a little inconsistent. That was definitely not the best.
Yeah.
It wasn't perfect. It was very good, but it was definitely not perfect. But one thing I continue to notice is that there's a lot of their relationship with medicine is really sort of fascinating to me. Like there's a constant take a pill and I forget what she says to. Somebody says to Picard, would you want me to just give you something to help you relax, or whatever. There's a lot of that. It's a little bit like psychiatry. Where there's a lot of here, just take this pill, take this. No, here, I'm just gonna give you a shot. And I'm reading a Star Trek novel now, and it's the same thing. McCoy, without Kirk's knowledge, Kirk can't sleep, and it's 4:00 in the morning, so he slips him a Mickey, puts something in his coffee, and that's just. And the thing is, that's totally in character. Like that's, I didn't read that and think, oh, that's out of character for McCoy or for Star Trek. That makes perfect sense. So that was just something that continues to pop up.
It's one of those things that are cultural in terms of time period, because we're looking at the future from the eyes of the past there. And in that time, slipping somebody a Mickey wasn't considered as violent as it is today.
Right. No, absolutely. Well, this is I forget when this novel was written, but yes, that's definitely true. He's like, I don't need a sedative. The actress who plays Rafi is someone that I really like. She was on Daredevil. And I think Jessica Jones on Netflix, and she just got something. There's just something about her that I really, really like. I just really like watching her.
So she's also very, very relatable. She wants to drink wine and smoke whatever that stuff is that she grows in her garden. but the Rafi scene, and I think I brought this up in the last one, the first Rafi scene where she kind of complains about where she lives is just very un-Star Trek.
Now she's complaining about living sort of the Vasquez Rocks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a fun little thing because I mean Vasquez Rocks, that's where the Gorn scene is set. There's a lot of Star Trek that happens at the Vasquez Rocks. I went to the Vasquez Rocks once. It was like a pilgrimage. I had the best time.
Oh wow! Nice.
Oh, it was just so much fun. They're gorgeous. I mean, they're absolutely. It's in Valencia, I think. But so that was a real fun. What did you say?
I want to go anywhere.
Well, that's true. And right now, I'd be happy to go on First Avenue, but that's a different problem. That's a different situation. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I kind of like it because is that one of the things the fans didn't like?
Yeah, but they didn't like that there isn't enough for everybody.
But there's always got to be outsiders. There's always, and it's not like they're mole people. Like we're not talking about like she's living fine. Like she's off, she's doing her own thing.
Gene Roddenberry's vision of the future was that utopia where we all have enough as humans, and she's human.
But she had enough. I mean, right? I mean, she wasn't out there like she was complaining about it, but it wasn't like she wasn't living in a sewer. She's
drugging for fun.
Yeah, she's clearly extremely troubled. She's estranged from her son. I mean, that whole scene with the son, it was a little bit out of nowhere. It was
yeah,
but you know, but sort of taking it for what it is, like taking the journey with the character, like sort of that's clearly a character who's in tremendous pain and has no idea what to do with herself. Like I don't know that it fit in the show. I don't know that it had any perfect reason to be there. But since it was there, let's take it. And so, you know, I don't know. I found her interesting. I'd be curious to see what else. She was a worthy addition, I thought.
Part of it that was great is just, you know, there's women of different ages all strong in it. Agatha not so much, but the rest of them.
No, Agnes is a nitwit. I mean, a lot of people have a lot of trouble with that with Alison Pill. People don't love her, and it's sort of interesting. She's in a lot of stuff that I like. She's been in shows that I like. She was on Broadway in Three Tall Women, and it wasn't really fair. It was this amazing like 90-year-old British actress whose name I'm not going to remember, Laurie Metcalf, who's incredible, and she just wasn't as good. Like it was sort of it was a little bit not. It wasn't entirely her fault. Like she was up. It was basically, you know, being up there with the greats, with two, you know, all-time greats. But a lot of people really dislike her. And I think,
Laurie Metcalf's somebody who, no matter what she does, I want to watch it.
Oh, Laurie Metcalf's amazing. She was great in this. She was going to do Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf on Broadway. It got canceled. I was kind of bummed. Like, not rescheduled. Like, they just were like, yeah, screw it, we're not doing it. So,
I saw her and Bruce Willis in
Misery.
In Misery, so good. So after it happened to be my favorite Christmas movie is 12 Monkeys, which actually is a Christmas movie if you really want it. And I just had to tell him it was one of my favorite movies, and he just rolled his eyes at me.
Well, he is apparently not the greatest guy. He also, by rumor, and I don't know if it's true, he doesn't memorize his lines. That he performs with an earpiece. That's how he rolls, which I just find utterly bizarre. But that's apparently what he does.
Yeah, that is bizarre.
I don't know how you would do that, but that's what I've heard. I'm just spreading rumors. So what were some other things? They had Tranya in the when they show up at, was it Free Cloud? I guess it was Free Cloud. When the place where 7 of 9 gets into that first confrontation.
Oh,
in
she
that
goes
club
back
setting.
to kill the one, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm coming. I'm on my way. I'll be there in a second." And then she's like, "Just one thing," and then she goes back to kill that woman.
Yeah, exactly. But so that woman, or when she's first shown, she gives this guy a drink, and it's Tranya, which is a thing from the original series. The one where it's a tiny thing, but it made me so happy. The one where they think they're talking to this big, giant, big-headed alien, and it turns out it's just a little kid.
It's
yes.
Great. Oh,
it's
with the
super
creepy
fun episode.
Little kid with the makeup on.
Yeah. The creepy kid, super creepy.
Yeah.
Super creepy.
Really hard to look
the
at.
thing he drinks, like, it's Tranya, and it's like orange juice, you know. It's just but it's just that one little thing. Well, I thought Free Cloud was a little derivative. Personally, I don't know if you would agree. I thought Free Cloud was a little bit like, you know, generic cyberpunk, you know, nifty place. Like, it just didn't really.
There were a few things that were like sort of borrowed from other popular nerd stuff, you know, that
Yeah.
felt very Star Wars.
Well, like you had you hit it right on the head with the, Legolas. Like I mean, he really couldn't look more like Legolas unless they called him Legolas. It was sort of, I don't know how they did that.
Or why?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, do you think Lord of the Rings fans are going to think they stumbled onto, Lord of the Rings Part 4? Like I don't really get that. It's such a specific and it's such an iconic looking, thing. If anything, I would think you'd want to avoid that.
I would think so too, and I would think that Star Trek would feel confident enough to retain its own very cerebral fans and not try to rely on people who want to see the battle of good and evil and people who want to more see exploration and understanding. But it's kind of like how I felt with Seven of Nine being a catsuit. If it keeps it on the air, that's great. Did we talk about toys last time?
About which?
Toys?
No, I don't think so.
So there's a show on, I think it's on Netflix. It's called The Toys That Made Us, and there is an episode that addresses Star Trek and Star Wars. So apparently, the whole action figure thing came from Star Wars, and Star Trek tried to absorb it again. So this isn't the first time Star Trek found what someone else was doing and then tried to emulate it in a Star Trek way.
Right. Yeah. No. Absolutely. I think they look ultimately. I think what's the line? It's something along the lines of, Star Trek started to copy Star Wars, but Star Wars wouldn't have happened without Star Trek. Like you never would have had. Like George Lucas never would have gotten there if not for Star Trek. It was just that once Star Wars became so popular, then Star Trek was able to be like, "Hi, remember us?" And also they're different. Like they tried to. Even that first movie, which is a ridiculous movie, I enjoy it, but it's a ludicrous movie. I mean,
it's so good.
Oh, it's so silly. There's a part where you can see the guy in the window where they're going past and they're on the Enterprise and they're like, "Hi," and the costumes are all over the place. It's such. I mean, it had a warm place in my heart, but it is definitely, they didn't really start to get good until Wrath of Khan. And then after that, they're hit and miss, obviously, but. I thought maybe they were doing kind of a backdoor pilot for Seven of Nine. Like I could totally see them trying to spin that off into another thing. And by the way, I think I'd watch it. I mean, she's awfully good.
Oh yeah, and the moment where she connected to the other Borg on the ship was probably the most exciting moment. That wasn't full Picard nostalgia.
So that's an interesting question. So how much of this is Picard nostalgia? And how much a good show?
They didn't have him stay engaged at first. They waited a couple episodes.
Right. That's obvious.
Bringing Jonathan Frakes at the very end, and there's something about the way Jonathan Frakes looked in the very end that made me want to go fact or fiction. He just had that look. He did not look like Riker. He looked like Jonathan Frakes.
Did we know that they had a kid who died, or was that new?
I don't recall that. We knew they got married.
Okay.
I may have shared this before. I don't like her with Riker. I always liked her better with Worf. I think that they're a much more compatible character. But then, of course, they sent Worf off to be with Dax, who was not someone appropriate for him, I thought. But
but as you said, like coupling people up in Star Trek is not really,
coupling everybody up is not Star Trek. Coupling some people up is, but not everybody. That's actually, again, a very, very important Gene Roddenberry thing. Because Gene Roddenberry didn't live in a time like you and I live in, where some adults are single by choice. He didn't live in that world. He lived in a world where people got married and had children, and that's like what women did. He was a big proponent of women being equal, and he felt that sex was a choice amongst two people and had nothing to do with marriage. And his ideal relationship was the relationship he tried to create between Riker and Marina Sirtis, Troy. Because for him, he was like, they're two adults, they love being together, but they don't push anything on each other, and their relationship's very, very fluid. That's what he thought relationships in the future would be.
Oh, okay.
which they aren't. I mean, they're not. He's not. He wasn't correct in that, but that's what he thought. So that's what he was trying to create. So it's not like everyone couples up. Sometimes people couple up.
Right, but also that's his version of utopia, right? So you know,
right.
his utopia is more fluid, because that's what he envisioned as being a better way to be. And some people, and that's, you know, that's not a thing. I mean, it exists. I know someone in a polyamorous marriage. I find it weird, but you know, but it's like, it's not something that doesn't exist.
Right. It is something that is part of our culture, which wasn't part of his culture, except for him, really.
Right. The guy who made Wonder Woman was in some kind of a three-way relationship.
Gotcha.
So, and that was way before. That was in like the 30s or 40s or whatever that was happening. So
I've always told my husband that the ideal thing would be to have another woman in our relationship, and she'd be the cooking, cleaning wife, and I'd be the sex wife. but the reality is more that I just want to have like 1950s parents take care of me as an adult.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't want that? I mean, especially now. I mean, I don't know about you. I see some of these celebrities on Zoom calls, and I'm like, you got a makeup person socially distancing with you. Like, there's definitely, some of these people are suspiciously well made up and suspiciously well maintained.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you know, we're about to have to give my son a haircut. That's not going to go well at all. There's nobody here knows how to give a haircut.
I've been asking my husband to cut my hair, but it's like a lot of pressure to put on him. But I'm like, oh, this is bad.
Oh, I would never cut my wife's hair. Oh, no way. Never, never, never. I don't remember ever seeing a barber on Star Trek. I feel like that's not a thing.
There is first off, there is an episode of The Next Generation where Worf is getting a haircut, and I can't remember what they're called, but the barber is blue. He's a blue person, whatever they are. And it's the episode where they are being abducted by aliens in almost that way that we think of aliens abducting people. Ooh. And they're trying to like recover memories, and Worf has a flashback when he sees the scissor.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So but I believe also, and I've told you I can't watch Enterprise. I'm sorry, anyone who's watching this. I've really, really tried. But there, I think, is a barber on Enterprise.
Oh, is that right?
I think so.
It's funny you didn't like Enterprise. I remember thinking Enterprise was okay, but I don't remember a whole lot about it. Like I remember watching it when it was on, and it sort of just came and went in my mind.
I can't get past the way that if you come at female characters, if you create female characters from a perspective of the way sexist people want women to act, I can't watch the show. I can't get past it, no matter what.
That's the Vulcan character, you mean?
Both of them. I find both of them to be from that perspective. From both female characters from that perspective. So then I can't watch the show. And then that's me. And that's across the board with any error. With any error. I can watch sexism in something, but if the writer views women as intelligent beings, then I can watch it. If the writer does not, then I can't.
Right.
So like the Andy Griffith Show is super, super old, but the female characters are all strong and smart.
That's interesting.
Of course, they're sort of born to be nurturing. They don't really focus on careers, but that's the world they lived in. They are intelligent and introspective. They're not simple-minded.
Okay, interesting. I like that. I like that. So who are your favorites on Star Trek? I mean, like would you say Troy? I mean, Troy's very nurturing.
Yeah, Troy is not one of my favorites. I don't dislike her. I like her very much, but she's not one of my favorites. I love Guinan. I love Dr. Pulaski, although I did not like Dr. Pulaski until I was a good deal older.
Okay.
I didn't understand her.
What about Crusher?
Until I like Crusher, but I don't love the actress.
Oh, interesting.
And it might not be her fault. It might be some of the scenes she's in, but sometimes she's just her. Again, sometimes I just don't find her acting to be at the same level as the rest of the cast.
Okay, that's fair. That happens. That's a thing. So I took a whole bunch of notes, and I'm just trying to see if there's anything that is worthy of. What did I write? Fear is an incompetent teacher. I love that line. There were a lot of good lines. I'm the wreckage of a good person. You know, like that's a really good line. I really like that. Like, there were a lot of like, ooh, I gotta write that down. That's really clever. You know, so that was fun. It was an enjoyable ride. You know, the difference between killing an enemy combatant and watching one die. You know, it's sort of what we were talking about with Agnes. I mean, Agnes, that's not an enemy combatant, so it was much worse. It was significantly worse. It was just straight up murder. It's funny to me in shows in general when they just don't deal with murder particularly well. Like there's the show on CW called Arrow, and it's Green Arrow from DC. And when the show starts, he's basically the Punisher. Like he's got a book with names, and he's going through and he's killing them. And eventually they address it because the show was on for 8 seasons, so you had to start talking about it. But they never really like he did eventually spend some time in jail. But all the people who were close to him, nobody ever said was like, dude, I can't deal with you anymore. You're a murderer. You're literally just killing people in cold blood. They're all just like, oh, yeah, I guess, you know, well, that was what he used to do. He's okay now. Like, it doesn't really work. If you're a murderer, you're always a murderer. You don't like, time does not erase that from your resume. Where, you know, in Agnes's case, it took about 20 minutes.
They're like, you were brainwashed, so what?
But you're no better than we are. That was something he said to the synths, which I thought was really interesting. It's sort of like we want you to be better than us in all ways, like not just physically, like not just in the sense that you are physically superior to us in all the ways that synthetics are, but we also want you to be morally superior. Well,
Data was written to be like the robots in Isaac Asimov's his iRobot. He was meant to be that, but clearly not Data, not by a mile.
No, they were interestingly flawed. I mean, I guess it works for plot. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, it's not, but it, because I never entirely understood the other sister. I guess she wasn't really a sister, but the one who they really tarted up and they made her look super hot. The one
they made her gold and
they made her gold. Yeah, they made her gold. They made her gold. They had her in a skimpy outfit. It was very old school Star Trek.
Yes.
But I guess I understood why she did what she did, but I didn't entirely understand why she would be willing to go that far. You know what I mean? Like I got that she was trying to sort of hasten the demise and get these other things there, but at the same time, again, like she killed somebody, and that was weird.
Yeah. I don't think it's weird. So with this comes up often. We're all home. We can't go anywhere because of the coronavirus. Everybody's terrified of the coronavirus, and in labs throughout the world are animals that are being experimented on so that we can go back outside. Animals that would otherwise be healthy, that everybody knows this is happening and most people aren't uncomfortable with.
I don't know. I don't think about it. I didn't really think about it until you just said it. I don't like it.
I can't not think about it.
Yeah,
I can't not think about it in part because when you make a choice to live the way I live, people question that in you. Like, how do you feel about that? Knowing that. Are you okay with that? Some of them are, and I don't say this to upset you. I guess it's just to bring that into light why I understand what she did's no different.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So she's doing it to save her, well, I don't want to say her people, that's not entirely accurate, but whatever it is that they are.
Yeah. Right. It's the same thing, that she feels that by doing that, she is helping her people. And so the murder is a righteous one.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fair.
A sacrifice.
I guess I have a tendency to want my characters to be sort of better, like and and she's, you know, she could have. I mean, I guess it's not really a killing. She kills one of her own kind, but they're not really dead. They're only sort of dead, right? Don't they just give them a new body?
Yeah.
You know.
So it's not even that big. I mean, she tries to make it look like she murders the guy that her sister's been sleeping with.
Right. I thought she was good. The one who played the sister clones. I thought she was great. And she's obviously very young.
Yeah.
So I thought she was actually kind of interesting. But I don't know, where do you think they're going to go with this?
I have no idea, but I'm going to still watch, and I think all the hardcore Star Trek fans are still going to watch, but I think the second you made Picard a synth, you lost us a little. Because that's just not him.
Well, it's literally not him.
Right.
I mean, it's him in his however they decide they can get your memories out of you and all of that kind of crap. But it's really not him. He doesn't have a real body.
Right.
You know, and they set it up so that he's going to die at a reasonable time and all of that kind of stuff. But you know, I mean, I thought it was an odd move. I don't know. I sometimes wonder if they're like, maybe you need someone like one of us sitting in the writer's room and being like, you know, guys, here's the thing.
There had to have been. I mean, Gene Roddenberry's son's in the writing room. There are hardcore fans in the writing room. Why didn't even Patrick Stewart say, this is weird?
I mean, I guess some of them, they must not think it's weird. It's harder for actors. Even, I mean, if Patrick Stewart said, I'm not doing that, obviously they would find a way. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's not that kind of actor. I mean, there are all sorts of stories of actors, you know, rewriting scripts. And who knows, but I wouldn't be shocked to find out that's not his jam. That's just not the kind of thing he does.
I don't think it's cool to come into a movie. You're coming into somebody's vision and giving your opinion as an actor. I think that's rude. But I think in the case of Patrick Stewart giving his opinion on how Picard is portrayed, I think he's completely in the right.
Oh yeah, no. I wouldn't have a problem with it, especially if in this case, if he said, you know, look, could you not make me a synth?
Yeah.
Could you maybe not do that? Maybe not turn me into a robot, because that's weird.
Our friend Spiner being like, can you not have me stuck in a room in my head and then wanting to die? Can you not do that?
Yeah, why do you think they did that? I don't really understand why they did that.
Again, it was very hitting you over the head with atheism, I felt.
Huh, okay. When you're dead, you're dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that it's okay to be finite, and that our finality is what gives our life meaning. So
somebody's an atheist. Somebody on this writing crew.
Absolutely, but like I said, so was Gene Roddenberry. But
well, no. I'm just saying. But I mean, that's typically because everybody wants to get their stamp on it. You know, like if they allowed other people to get in on Lord of the Rings, for example, God only knows what the hell. I mean, there's a series supposed to happen on Amazon, so maybe it'll be all wacky. I'm not enough of a Lord of the Rings purist, but I mean, I'm sure I would hear about it if they go, you know, too far off the rails. And we certainly heard about it with Star Wars, with Last Jedi. People went bananas over that, saying it was not appropriate Star Wars. It did not fit. You know, Luke would never do that. You know, all that kind of thing. I mean, I don't know what if he would or he wouldn't, but certainly when you take a beloved character and you turn them into a synth, that's definitely, you know, that's not a great look.
The most beloved character, I think. I could be wrong, but I would imagine he is the most beloved character.
I don't know. What about Spock? You don't think Spock maybe?
Okay.
I mean, I'm gun to my head. I mean, I'm not saying, this is not to say that Picard is not beloved, like, but maybe because people certainly really do love them some Spock.
I think I'll put a poll up on one of those Star Trek clubs and see what people say. I'd be really curious.
I would be curious about that too. I would have to say Spock, but that's just, but you know, that's.
And not say who's your favorite character. Just break the two of them down. Just which one of these two, because everything else is secondary, and you're right. And I see that.
No, and by the way, I mean, there's sort of, it's one of those nice polls where there's no wrong answer.
So I read one point, they wanted to get a shot of of Spock doing a mind meld, and they didn't want to pay for Leonard Nimoy to come in, so they had someone else come in just to do the hand gesture, and whoever did it didn't do it gracefully, did it aggressively, and Leonard Nimoy was very upset.
Real? Where was this?
I don't know which episode, I don't know what movie or what it was, but I remember reading that Leonard Nimoy, he couldn't at that time really do anything about it, but it bothered him.
Yeah. No, I think that ultimately, I mean, one of the things that's so interesting about stuff like that is, you know, you don't own your character in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
I mean, like, you know, George Takei was upset that they turned the character gay, but it's not like he can do anything about it. But they can't stop him from talking about it, and they don't really want him talking about it. So, you know.
Right, and George Takei is he's like really active with millennials love him.
Oh, they love him. They love him. 80 years old, God bless. I mean, you know,
yeah.
the guy is more popular than, you know, many YouTube influencers. I mean, he's huge.
I saw something came up in my feed at one point. It was like register to win a double date with him and his husband. And I tried to register. You actually have to pay to register.
Well, there's these charity things. I hope it was a charity thing. Yeah. I hope it was one of those.
I'm sure.
You know, no, I got to meet him once after a play he was in, and it was magical. I mean, it was just, you know, I was irresponsibly silly. I just was so excited to meet him. He's just incredible. But
at one point, I was working out in Los Angeles, and Harry Kim was working out near me.
Okay.
And I looked at him so much that he stepped off of his treadmill, gave me the dirtiest look, and walked away.
I mean, I always think it's hard for people like that, but at the same time, I sort of like, I was once on vacation and George Takei was in the same place, and I did not approach him because I didn't want to interrupt him. But if I was standing in a room with him, you know, I mean, what am I supposed to do? I'm going to not know it's you? Like I walked by Spike Lee. Spike Lee used to live on the same block that I lived on, and I walked past him. It is impossible to not notice him. I mean, he is not tall, but he is very, very noticeable.
So the same thing happened at the same gym with Bob Odenkirk, and Bob Odenkirk just ignored me.
Which is another way to go. You know, that's another move. I mean, I think it depends on who they are. I mean, there's a friend of mine was once with a kid's birthday party, and one of the kids was a big David Bowie fan. It was a bowling party, and David Bowie's there. So the kid walks over to David Bowie, says, "Are you David Bowie?" And Bowie says no, because presumably he didn't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
And then he proceeded to take a face plant while bowling. And my friend is like, how did nobody get that on video? That would have been the best revenge. But, you know, like, I mean, it's probably nice to not be bothered all the time. But at the same time, I feel like it's probably also nice to just be like, hey, yeah, you know, it's me. You know, what are you going to do?
I mean, for most people, for the large majority of people, fame is very fleeting. And I think they should enjoy it for what it is. Totally. I do understand for some people it's permanent. You know, Jane Fonda is Jane Fonda for her entire life. But I'm pretty sure the guy who plays Harry Kim, whose name I can't remember right now, can walk down the street now without an issue, unless he's near a diehard Star Trek fan.
See, that's where I totally agree with you. Yes, I like this is not Brad Pitt. You know, like this is a situation where he could absolutely walk in. Let me see if I even recognize him. I'm just Harry Kim. Harry Kim, actor. Oh yeah, sure. I wouldn't recognize him.
You wouldn't? I wish you
when I looked him up and I'm like, oh, that guy. Yeah, sure. You know, but that's not. Yeah, no disrespect, Harry. But what is his name even?
What would it hurt you to just smile at me and, you know?
Yeah, smile and not. That's the thing. Like that was when I saw Spike Lee, I sort of locked eyes with Spike Lee and I just nodded. Mm-hmm. Like I just kind of went like, hey, you know, and he was clearly not happy. Like he was not amused that I was doing that with him. And it's like, I mean, first of all, I might do that with anybody. Like if I happen to see someone, you know, just you acknowledge their presence, but it's like, you're clearly Spike Lee. Like this isn't, you know,
right,
like, I know it's you, you know, it's you, you know that I think that's kind of cool. So just give me a nod. You know, what's it hurt?
See, if I met Patrick Stewart, though, I do believe that unless I was working and I had to hold it together, that I probably would say something that didn't come out as English because I would be just so overwhelmed.
Oh, but the thing is, I bet he's used to it. I bet he's totally used to that. Like I mean,
this is a different argument.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, imagine what he must go with. I mean, for God's sake, I mean, Jerry Ryan probably gets that, and she's not Patrick Stewart.
Right.
I mean, you know, at least like Jerry Ryan, most people know who she is. She's had other things, like she was on one of those Boston shows, Boston Legal, Boston School, or whatever the hell it is.
Boston Public.
Yeah, Boston Public. Okay, but you know, like, so she's had a nice
Captain
career.
Kirk. He was on it with her, I believe.
What? No, well, he was on Legal. He was on Boston Legal, but I don't know if do those two shows cross over?
I don't know. I feel like I saw them in something together where
could be. And by the way, that would be smart casting. I mean, why not? Yeah. He was great on that, by the way. That's the best thing he's ever done. Shatner. I think that's the most interesting sort of, according to George was on the Howard Stern show, and he said that's just him. He said that's like he's a doddering old man, and he's like, that's Shatner. That's the real.
I just love that he has a great sense of humor about himself.
Who, Shatner?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I bet he does, unless you're the one making fun of him. Like, you know, I get the sense that he's probably a little bit of a pain, but you know, I mean, I love him. I you know, what could be? He once turned me down for an interview, and that bummed me out. But that was not. It wasn't anything personal. It was just like I was like, oh my god, I get to interview William Shatner. That would be amazing. So that would have been. So what's the next thing we can watch? Do I have to go back and watch all of Next Generation now? What's my
I don't know.
My assignments?
I would say let's why don't we check out a couple of movies?
Okay. Well, actually, I wouldn't mind going back and seeing. What'd you say? The one where Data dies? What's the movie where Data dies?
That is Nemesis.
Nemesis. Okay. Because I feel like at this point, usually I like to watch everything in order. But I don't think I need to do that anymore. I think I've gotten over that.
I would like to try to watch everything in order, but I can't watch Enterprise. I like being a warm-hearted, soft woman. I don't like when I get this like I become like an angry feminist. Like, don't they realize we're I don't like, and Enterprise brings that out in me.
Is that sort of the general knock on that show?
I don't have any other. You know, I can ask around. I can ask Leanne Ward what she feels. Ask some other female Star Trek fans how they feel, because I do think that a man can watch something and see it and be like, you know, I get it, but there's like a feeling you get as I'll put it this way. I love Better Call Saul. We were talking about Bob Odenkirk.
Great show.
In it, it's amazing. So I really tried to watch Breaking Bad. I tried. Okay. And I just found the wife character to be written from a perspective that was so uncomfortable that I couldn't watch another episode.
It's definitely not known for its female characters. Let's put it kindly.
And then you watch Better Call Saul. One of the main characters, a very strong, intelligent woman who's
great character.
Yeah.
Great actress too. I mean, really, I don't know where she came from. She's not someone who I think was, you know, burning it up. I think they went through. I remember she talked about it on one of those after shows that went through like a long casting process.
She's perfect in that role.
Perfect, 100% perfect. Yes, terrific, really, really good. So all right, maybe I'll check out some Nemesis.
Okay, awesome.
That'd be fun.
Best movie out there in my opinion.
Oh, okay, all right, that's good.
You know, why don't we do this? Why don't we watch? Because it gets compared to Wrath of Khan. Let's watch both of them and see if we really think they are similar.
Oh, listen, I mean, any chance to watch Wrath of Khan, I got no problem with that. That's no issue there. All right, so this is To Boldly Keep Going While Staying at Home. Everyone, live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper. Stay safe.
Yes, stay safe.